Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says there's no direct reporting that the Saudi Crown Prince ordered the killing of Khashoggi. The Defense Secretary, General Mattis, says there's no smoking gun. You said the evidence of the Crown Prince's involvement is, in your word, overwhelming. Why don't the president and these other top officials necessarily agree with you?
I think what's been going on for a long time in American foreign policy is that we're so used to supporting the lesser of two evils that we look the other way when evil happens. I think the evil that occurred to Mr. Khashoggi was so barbaric that people are having trouble looking away. And this administration is doing what every administration has done for the last decade after decade. They look away when it's their guy. How many times throughout the Cold War did we choose one evil dictator over another one if they were pro-American versus pro-Soviet? This is just another example of it. So this is not something abrupt with the Trump administration. This is actually a continuation of the norm in Washington, and that is to excuse bad behavior. But I will tell you, today the Senate woke up and the Senate says, hey, we're not going to keep blindly supporting Saudi Arabia, and we're not going to keep blindly supporting the war in Yemen. Today was a big day.
I want to get to that vote in a moment, but Gina Haspel, the CIA director, she wasn't up on Capitol Hill meeting with senators today as Mattis was and Pompeo was. Was that a mistake? Why didn't they let her go up there and brief you guys?
I think it was a mistake, and I think it's interesting in that the one thing that's out there in the media is that the CIA concluded with high probability that the Crown Prince was involved. And so that conclusion is being completely sloughed over, and people are turning a blind eye to that. And yet she's the one that could confirm or deny that CIA report exists. And yet the only way we're hearing about this is through the media, because our government's not letting us know the truth. And this is something I've argued for a long time. Intelligence information like this is restricted to 8 people in Congress. The elite 8 get to hear about this. A rank and file senator, I represent an entire state. They will not tell me, or they haven't told us, whether the CIA has issued this report. And so the thing is that we shouldn't have to read about this in the media. And the only reason it came forward and may or may not have been discussed further since then is because we heard about it in the media.
You and your fellow senators have just voted in a very impressive vote to advance a resolution, Senator, to end the U.S. involvement in the war in Yemen. The vote was 63 to 37, bipartisan support. Did today's briefing, the overall handling by the administration of the Khashoggi murder, did that influence that successful vote today?
I think so, because we've had similar votes in the past and they've failed, and now we gained about 10 or 15 new votes today. But the reason why this is historic is that our founding fathers wanted Congress to declare war, not the president. Very specifically, they said Congress, not the president, shall declare war. So this vote today is the Senate, part of Congress, taking back that power from the presidency and saying, you do not get to unilaterally decide whether or not we will support Saudi Arabia in a war in Yemen. That is a vote of Congress. So this is a huge day for constitutional separation of powers and for Congress being a check and a balance on the administration. And I've been fair on this. I've been very ecumenical. When it was President Obama, I voted the same way to say he shouldn't have gone and bombed in Libya without our permission as well. So this is a big day for checks and balances and what Madison would be proud of us today.
You've been generous with your time. One final question before I let you go. Senator, the White House hasn't ruled out the possibility of an informal interaction, a meeting between President Trump and the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the G20 summit in Buenos Aires Friday or Saturday. Do you think these two leaders should meet?
I think it's a mistake, and I think the message we should send to them is that we want to deal with someone who's not ordering the murder of dissidents. We want to meet with someone who's not ordering the blockade of a fellow Middle Eastern country cutter. We want to meet with someone who isn't exacerbating a war on civilians in Yemen. And I think the only way they get that message is if we quit selling them arms. So meeting with them sends the wrong message. There are also other dissidents. There's a young man by the name of Barik al-Nimr. He was 17 when he was picked up at a protest rally. His uncle has already been executed. He's on death row. He will be crucified and beheaded in Saudi Arabia. If we say it's okay to kill Khashoggi, they're going to say, hey, the Americans don't care much if we kill our dissidents, and then we're going to kill this young man also. So this young man's life hangs in the balance. If we look away on Khashoggi's killing, there will be more death in Saudi Arabia. More dissidents will be killed.